Good afternoon, everyone. Thank y'all for coming. My name is Ashley Ferry, and as some of y'all may already know, I am the cat foster manager at Austin Pets Alive. But a lot of my background is in marketing, and I spent several years doing cat marketing with APA. So today I'm going to be talking to you about cat marketing. So some of you may already be familiar with this, but for those of you who aren't, just a little bit about me. I grew up with animals, specifically dogs. So if any of y'all are dog people, there is definitely hope to learn cats. It's not that hard. I graduated from the University of Texas with a bachelor's degree in marketing. And while I was at UT, I completed several internships, starting with a branch of our local government, Travis County. And then I found a way to combine my love for animals with my education. And I interned with Austin Humane Society and their marketing program, and Austin Pets Alive on their cat marketing side. So this gives me some great perspective on marketing within different shelters. Once I graduated from UT, I then continued at APA as the cat marketing manager, and I've recently moved into the role of cat foster manager, which still has a lot of marketing components. So what we'll cover today, the cat profile, because you definitely need a strong profile to make sure that your adoptable cats are getting the attention they deserve. Then we'll look at how to acquire the marketing material for these profiles, and the differences between acquiring material for cats that are on-site versus ones in foster. Then I'll give you some suggestions on where to promote these cats once you finally have all this material. And we'll also discuss some basics for creating a marketing campaign. And once you know what all you need and what to do with this material, we'll look at the different types of teams that will help make this all manageable. And then, of course, we'll have some time for questions and answers. So I'm going to start with the assumption that everyone will have a website with a listing of their adoptable animals, just because this is so essential to marketing your adoptable cats. In these animal listings, each animal should have its own profile with basic animal info and marketing material. There are two main details that are significant and controllable from a marketing standpoint: the cat's name and their coloring breed description. For names, you want to make sure that your animals have easy, pronounceable names, because that makes them much more relatable. If somebody's looking at the name and they don't know how to say it, it's going to make it awkward when they go to ask questions about the animal. They won't know what to call it. And you also want to make sure that these names have a positive connotation. For instance, this poor kitty was named Lucifer. Being that he's mostly black, he already has adoption obstacles anyways. You don't need to add to that. So recognizing that, our adoption counselors opted to call him King Louie, which is much more positive sounding and definitely helped. An easy way to handle this is to develop a listing of names that are approved, or you could even just do a listing of names that are absolutely not acceptable. Next, you want to make sure that you label a cat's breed and coloring to be the most adoptable. There are lots of color and coat patterns that may indicate the cat is a mixed breed. They'd be a little bit more attractable. For instance, your long-haired brown tabbies. They might just be a long-haired brown tabby, but they could also be a Maine Coon mix. And having that mix on there kind of helps with alleviate that guessing game. And somebody might be looking on your website just for a Maine Coon mix because they like the physical features. So if this matches enough of what they're looking for, then that can definitely help attracting them to that specific cat. And Siamese mixes are a big deal. You definitely want to try to make sure that you're describing them to the best of your ability, such as snowshoe or lynx point or whatever. And it's totally fine if you have to Google it to figure out what is what. And also, Torbies and Torties are more adoptable than just plain black cats or just plain brown tabbies. Once you get past the basic profile details, you want to start gathering marketing material from promoting these cats. The most important piece of a cat's profile is its photo. You'll want to lead with a good face shot because those are what's going to be the easiest to really see as you're scrolling through the multiple photos on your website. The full body shot is great for showing any types of physical features, such as really cool tabby markings or bobtails, or if they're an amputee. An action shot of a playful kitty can also be really attractive, but they're very hard to get, and the super blurry shots aren't worth it. If you have really good body shots and you can't get a good playing shot, then that's fine. Props, such as bows or headpieces, can also make the pictures a little bit more appealing. If you imagine that you're scrolling through 100 photos, something odd on one cat might help you draw your attention to it. And we've actually had a lot of adopters attest to that. Black cats can always be really difficult to photo. They often look better with natural lighting, so if you can get them in a window or somewhere along there, you'll get to see more of those facial features. And they're also another one where bow ties or something along those lines can really help make them stand out. As tempting as it might be, you do not want to use flash with cats. You'll get that horrible demonic flashy eye thing, and cats blink really quickly, so it's going to cause them to squint. You're going to get blinking photos. It's just not going to be attractive. And even if you have great photos on a cat, if it's not getting adopted right away, you want to switch out those photos, because who knows what's going to be the key factor that attracts that one adopter. And especially with kittens as they get older. You don't want a photo of a 2-month-old kitten when it's now like 6 months old. It's not exactly fair to the adopters. So next, you're going to want to focus on the biographies for the cats. This is really important to helping adopters get familiar with them, especially ones that are in foster and a little bit harder to get access to. Having a consistent format for your bios can really help. You know, if you kind of keep at the end, if it's good with cats, dogs, and kids and everything, then people know where to look at for that type of information. But you also definitely want to use your bios to point out the adoptable features of these cats that can't necessarily be seen in the photos. Like if they're a polydactyl, or if they have really gorgeous blue eyes, you definitely want to elaborate on that. And you want to encourage clever creativity, such as with Mirabai here. In her bio, she was described as a spirited one-eyed wonder, and we try to put what may be considered a disability, the loss of one of her eyes, in a positive light by saying that she doesn't even mind looking like a pirate. Bios are also a really great place to describe the perfect home for the cat. Again, noting if they're good with cats, dogs, or kids, or at least if you expect that they would be. You know, you might have the calmest cat ever. It's never been around kids, but you don't suspect that it would have issues. So you don't necessarily want to put that for sure it would be. But if you put in the wording that you expect it would be good with kids, then that at least opens it up to other avenues. And then the adopters can do a meet and greet with their children and find out for sure. And again, biographies should also be updated periodically because cats' behaviors and personalities will develop the longer they're with you. And especially with kittens, again, as they get older, they're going to change. Some cats are not as easily adoptable, so bios can be very useful in overcoming adoption obstacles. It's always best to be honest. You don't want to get an adopter in with the wrong idea, but you can also describe some of these adoption obstacles in a more positive light. For instance, troublesome kitties might be described as divas or sassy, while under-socialized cats can be described as shy or independent because they're not wanting to be as close to the people. And this will also sound much less intimidating to adopters, so they're more likely to at least go meet the cat and see if it's a fit. A bio for a cat that requires being an only pet might make mention of how they are so loving that you won't need anyone else, or they just want to be the center of your life. When it comes to viruses such as FIV or feline leukemia, you want to disclose that the cat has the virus in their bio. This might deter some potential adopters, but it helps with educating them on the virus, and it alleviates the issue of potential adopters coming to meet the cat and then finding out about the virus and being upset because they don't want a cat with that virus at all. Especially feline leukemia, where it's very important if they have resident pets that they know if they're adopting a cat with feline leukemia or not. That might automatically rule it out. So ringworm is also one of those things that's really good to describe as easy to treat. And we try to put it in a perspective that a lot of people are more familiar with by saying that it's a lot like athlete's foot. It's important to keep in mind that the bio is not the complete sum of information that you're going to give to an adopter, though. Your adoption team will definitely need to go more in detail about their medical history, their behaviors, and all of that to make sure that the adopter is going to be comfortable with the cat. So you want to introduce some of these aspects, but you don't have to go super in depth. This is the blurb that we include in the bios for all of our cats with FIV. As you can see, we play it down a bit, saying that it sounds worse than it is, and educate interested parties on who can catch the virus and how it's transmitted. We describe the needs of an FIV kitty, or FIV positive kitty, while also trying to make them sound pretty simple, which they are. Finally, we make sure to provide a link to additional information so they can do their own research. It's always better when it's coming from multiple sources. I feel like it's more trusted that way. And so here are some examples of some of our medical cats and their bios. Winnie, the one on top here, is incontinent and needs her bladder expressed a few times a day, which we explain, again, sounds harder than it is, and let adopters know that we'll teach them how to do it, since we don't expect most people to know how to do it. And I think that if you and your organization have the ability to teach potential adopters how to manage some of these special needs, that's going to go a long way in helping these animals get adopted. Terrell at the bottom here was diabetic and had stomatitis. He requires a special food, which we make sure to describe as affordable and explain how easy it is to get. A lot of times, special food requirements can be pretty scary to adopters. They don't know if it means spending $500 a bag or whatever. We also address the obvious concern about a cat that doesn't have teeth and mention that he eats just fine, and he doesn't even seem to mind. The final piece of marketing material that you will want is a video. Videos do not seem as significant for cats. So if you have limited resources, I would definitely suggest focusing on your photos and your bios. If you do include a video, you want to make sure that it shows something compelling, such as a cute Manx bunny hop or tricks, not just a cat sleeping. That's going to be kind of boring. When it comes to videos, smartphone quality is fine, but you do want to make sure you're holding the phone horizontally, because when you do it vertically, you get those weird black bars on the side, and that really annoys a lot of people. When shooting video, you'll ideally want to aim for about 2 to 3 30-second clips of the cat doing different things, just so you can kind of mix up the video. It's not all one straight thing of boringness. And you'll want to edit them together with an intro, closing, and some background music, especially if it's in the shelter. You don't want weird conversations in your background. This doesn't have to be complex, and there are lots of free, downloadable video editing tools that you can use. I think my computer even came with one already on it. So I don't know if I can click on it from here. This is one video that one of our fosters did for their foster cat. Another video. This one was of an incontinent cat named Maddie, who had his back legs fused together, which was what made him incontinent. This video just showed him hopping around so that you could see that he still moved around. He's playing with a ball, so he's still kind of happy and enjoying life. And it was one where, you know, it was vertical footage, you had the black bars on the side, not super appealing, pretty fuzzy, not very good quality, but it went semi-viral from our Facebook page just because it was cute, this little bunny hop running around. And it ended up resulting in a donor that was willing to donate diapers to him for the rest of his life. And then, after a little bit more marketing, Maddie actually found an adopter who traveled all the way from Florida to come and get him. Okay, so now that we know what we're trying to get, let's look at how do we get it. If the cat is at an on-site adoption center, marketing material is generally easier to get because you have much more access to them. Now, there are perks to this and there are downfalls. It may be much harder to get a good biography for them because, you know, your volunteers and your adoption counselors have a lot of cats to get to know, and they might not know everything about that one cat. It's also harder to really see a cat's personality when it's hanging out in a cage. But you can definitely send your volunteer photographers with their fancy cameras, and you can get awesome photos and videos. So fosters will generally be able to get you the bios better, but you kind of have that trade-off on photos and videos. And when they're on site, you definitely want to reach out to your volunteers and staff because they're going to be your biggest resources in getting to know these cats. It can be really helpful to send out periodic lists of the different cats that are still in need of photos and bios and everything so that your volunteers have some sort of direction on who to go and visit with specifically. And your staff, if they have a very strong relationship with a specific cat, they may be more willing to help with submitting stuff if they see that that cat's in need of those things. So if a cat's in foster, of course, it can be a bit more challenging to get the marketing material because they're not as easily accessible for you. Depending on the foster, you may be able to get better biographies because, you know, they only have a few cats at home. They get to know each one very well. But you can also get fun photos like these that aren't nearly as appealing as some of the others. Some fosters are also more proactive about supplying marketing material, while others aren't. And so you really need to have a chain of command for handling unresponsive fosters when you're trying to acquire this material. We generally try to contact the foster 2 to 3 times before forwarding them to the foster managers. It is also really important to provide fosters with easy ways to provide marketing material. These people graciously signed up to share their home with these animals and help save their lives, but that doesn't mean that overnight they're going to become marketing experts, that they now know how to use a DSLR camera and start a whole campaign. You have to give them a way to help with doing this. We provide our fosters with a simple online form where they don't even have to actually write the bio themselves, because not everyone's a creative writer. They just submit different personality info about the cats, and then we have volunteers who will write it for them. We also arrange photo days so that the fosters can bring their cats or kittens in and have our volunteer photographers take photos of them. This generally works better during the summer with kitten season. Kittens are a bit more resilient to the change of environment. Adult cats will often get kind of upset about it, so it just varies based on cat to cat on how effective that is. So now you've gotten the material, both from your fosters, from your on-site locations. Where are you going to put it? The first go-to is always social media. It's mostly free. Of course, Facebook, you can promote the posts and then it gets not free, but it's definitely one of your easiest avenues. For it to be effective, though, you do need to build a large audience. This can be done by simply getting the word out there, including QR codes on some of your different flyers and everything, letting your volunteer force know about the page, or using the paid feature on Facebook, We also include a sheet that encourages our adopters to like the Facebook page after they've adopted from us so that they can continue seeing cute kitties, sharing it with their friends, and hopefully bringing in more adopters. In managing your Facebook page, you want to aim for consistency. The general business teaching is that you need a regular person posting on your page. You don't want interns coming in each semester doing it. You don't necessarily want a team of volunteers that are keeping up your Facebook page because the voice is going to change. The voice of your Facebook page is part of your brand. If each post is coming from a different voice, you can tell that they're written by different people, it's going to be more difficult to really bond with that brand and to really understand what it's trying to tell you. Although you want to stay consistent, you do want to vary the types of postings you're doing. You don't want to just post day in, day out, here's this adoptable cat. That'll get really boring. You want to throw in pleas for fosters or volunteers, promote upcoming events, or just keep the followers aware of organization news. For us, sometimes we have issues with the weather when we have big storms because our facility is a little bit older, so we'll mention needs relating to that, or AMPA was one of the recent things that was on there. Just different current events to kind of keep everyone aware of what's going on. To help figure out what's working, what type of posts to do more of, and even what time of day is the most effective, use the Facebook Insights. If you notice that a particular time of the day is most effective, and you're not always able to post at that time of day, schedule the post the night before and use the scheduling feature to make sure that it goes up at that time, because then you'll definitely get the most reach. And from an organizational standpoint, you really want to be careful about making too many Facebook pages. Most organizations really shouldn't have more than one Facebook page, as it starts to stretch the brand too thin and can create inconsistencies. That's probably one of the things that we don't necessarily do the best at APA. Instagram is another great tool. I found that our Instagram photos are generally more successful if they have cute, creative captions, such as this one of asking if Tori is a cat or a meerkat. You also get to use more of your fun photos. This photo isn't particularly great for adoption, since it really doesn't show many of her features, but it's cute and it's attractive and appealing. So on Instagram, where everyone's just looking through photos, it's going to get a lot of attention. With both of these outlets, you do want to make sure that you're using high quality material and writing good professional posts to get the best results. If you have a lot of really blurry photos or you have horrible spelling and grammar, it's going to show and it will make an impact. So Craigslist is extremely helpful and easy to use. I know a lot of rescues look at it as a problem area where people are giving away free pets, but you can also use it to your advantage. Some of the people acquiring pets from Craigslist simply don't know what other options there are. So including your rescue animals on there help to enlighten them. Craigslist is actually the #1 driver to the APA website. We create individual posts for each animal with a basic structure that includes their bio, photos, and this blurb, which further directs them to the APA website, instructs them to email our adopt@awesomepetsalive.org email address to inquire further about the animal, and kind of tells them what all comes with adoption, that they're feline leukemia and FIV tested, they're up to date on vaccines, spayed and neutered, microchipped, etc. Probably one of the most important things is to make sure that someone's actually responding to the inquiries that come in through this. If you're not, then it's pretty much a waste of time, and you'll probably irritate people. Another amazing resource for promoting adoptable animals is RESCUEGROUPS.org. This website is basically your one-stop shop for getting your animals listed on tons of different adoption websites, which makes it super efficient. You simply create individual profiles for each of your adoptable kitties, including their photos, bios, and general information. Then keep them updated as you get new material so that they have their best faces out there. Your account will have a list of animals that you have entered, so you just want to keep it up, remove animals that are adopted, and it's really easy to use. But by just creating their profiles on rescue groups, it then gets distributed to multiple, I think it's like several hundred different adoption websites. So you'll definitely get a lot of reach through this one place. And it's free, so. Building partnerships with other companies is also an awesome way to promote your cats. We have a partnership with a company called Culture Map Austin, which is an online source, as they describe, for culturally relevant news and information. Not really anything relating to animal shelters, but they highlight an APA animal every week on their website. It's just another great spot for us to get some attention. We also have a partnership with local news stations that run Pet of the Week specials, and they'll occasionally use APA animals in those segments. Just because these companies are in Austin does not mean you cannot recreate this in your own community, though. Reach out to local blogs, news stations, or local businesses to see if they would be willing to help highlight adoptable animals. It works out really great for your organization, but it also looks really good for them because, you know, they're helping cute, fuzzy animals. It's a great PR move. Finally, you should definitely encourage your fosters to promote their foster kitties. They can often be way more creative than we can. Our fosters that are the most successful with getting their animals adopted out of foster are the ones that help with promoting them. We often suggest that they promote them on their personal Facebook pages, create Craigslist ads because, you know, you can never have too many, and flyers that they can post around their neighborhood, work, local pet stores, just multiple places to help kind of get their cats some attention. And we've also had some success with posting on Reddit and reaching out to family and friends, which also has the added perk, the family and friends part, or your Facebook friends even, that then you get to keep following up with the foster cat as it is in its new home. And it's important to note that not all fosters are willing to do this, and that's okay. But you want to encourage them and kind of give them ideas in case they are willing to. So this is an example of some of the amazing work that fosters can do and how Angel, a 17-year-old tabby, was promoted. She was adopted due to all of the promoting that her foster did. He included her as the 5th golden girl because of her age. And she's waiting her turn at the slots. And so even with basic promotion methods, there are still going to be some cats that have a little bit of trouble getting adopted. That's where marketing campaigns can come in handy. You always want to clearly define who is included in your promotion. You don't want people coming in and getting upset because you're saying that that animal doesn't count if it's not clearly written on your flyer. You also probably want to put in some disclaimers. I'm a big fan of disclaimers because then it makes it harder for people to argue with you. You know, put like that certain exclusions may apply, or that it's still based on getting approved to be adopted, things like that. Or if you only want it to count for animals that are on site rather than all of your animals. We often try to limit which promotions will count on our foster animals, because if it's a 1 or 2 day promotion, we don't want adopters to get upset with our fosters because they're not willing to meet on that specific day so that they can adopt the animal during the promotion. Or if they're not able to meet on that specific day. It just helps with relieving some of those issues. During the winter months, when there are very few kittens, you might have or are getting adopted. You probably don't want to include them in a promotion. There's not much point. They're already selling themselves. However, during the summer, when you're drowning in kittens, it might be worth it to make a promotion that's like 4 months and up so that those older kittens aren't getting overlooked for the tiny, tiny 2-month-olds. You also want to create catchy themes, like super seniors or single and loving it, to help kind of draw attention and make it stick in their minds. Tying into current events can also be very effective, such as 12 Strays of Christmas, around Christmas time. Or for us, we're planning on doing an Austin Kitty Limits promotion around the time of Austin City Limits, one of the big music festivals that's in town. You may want to consider doing special pricing for cats involved in the promotion to help make the promotion more attention-grabbing. It's our nature to be drawn to what we see as on sale. However, not all promos have to be pricing related. They can also just be information related. Our feline leukemia cats already have waived adoption fees, but we are still trying to figure out how we want to do like a Felvy Fest to help get their attention and draw more adopters in, which I'm sure Steve will be very excited about. He's our Felvy expert. Then to advertise your promotion, you want a compelling flyer to distribute, which you want to make sure that any of your your restrictions on what the promotion applies to are clearly listed on there, so that everyone has a clear source to see what's included and what's not. Once you have this flyer, you want to put it on your Facebook page, your website, create Craigslist postings, and mention it in your blog. And it's really important that you advertise the promotion consistently. You don't want people to get confused or think there are multiple promotions going on, or you don't want some weird slip in wording on one of those spots to create issues later on. Finally, not every promotion needs to be original. You can see what other shelters in your area are doing, kind of revamp the flyer to fit your organization better, partner with best friends on some of their promos. It's all about getting the animals adopted. It's not really copyrighted or anything. So here are a couple examples of promotions that we've done in the past few months. Black Magic reduced the adoption fees on all predominantly black cats and dogs for one weekend in October. Since this was close to Halloween, it tied into current events, but it also created a lot of controversy because a lot of people in rescue still hold that fear that if you adopt black animals around Halloween, that they're going to be mistreated or abused. We address these concerns by noting that there are studies that show that that's not true. They have no more likelihood of getting injured or being used in satanic rituals or whatever near Halloween than they do any other time of the year. But the controversy actually helped to promote the campaign quite a bit. There are tons of shares and comments, which, if you're going into the Facebook methods of how they spread your posts, the more comments you get, the more shares you get, the more people are going to be able to see it, even of just your followers already. Next, we have our Certified Pre-Owned Cats promotion. This promotion discounted all cats over 3 months old for a weekend of November. This was not original. There are multiple other shelters in the area that did it. We just kind of borrowed the idea, did a flyer for it, and it was cute. A lot of people really liked it. We actually were able to get 25 kitties adopted with just that weekend. And of course, we wanted to go with the sleazy, weird 95 pricing, so the adoption fees are $39.95. So now you're going to be collecting all of this marketing material, putting it on the website, posting it on multiple places, creating campaigns. This is a lot of work. So let's look at the marketing team behind you to help make it all happen. To start with, you'll need a cat marketing manager or team lead. This person is responsible for dealing with the administrative aspects of the team. They do a lot. They're basically going to be your liaison between the volunteer team and the rest of the organization. They will need to monitor your cat inventory and website, coordinate with other teams, organize the cat marketing team while recruiting and training new members, support fosters as they try to find their kitties' homes, and any other miscellaneous tasks that pop up. This position is very time intensive, so you need someone who's really dedicated. There can be high turnover in this position, which can also be really detrimental to the team. Each different cat marketing manager that you acquire is going to have a different vision and a different strength in trying to grow the team. So whenever that's constantly changing, of course that's going to be hard for your fosters and volunteers to adjust to, but it's going to change the direction of everything else. To build a strong cat marketing team, you really want a consistent leader. Next, you will want a team of bio writers, especially if you're just allowing your fosters to submit personality info. You want someone who's really good at that creative writing aspect. They will be really essential in writing those interesting bios, kind of crafting the key selling points, and this position does require reliable, consistent volunteers, especially during kitten season. You want to start volunteers with a clear listing of expectations so they can decide if this is right for them, because it is pretty time intensive. You don't want to go through the effort of training them, and then they drop out. We give each bio writer a specific writing range, alphabetically, so that they are specifically responsible for, which helps our bio team run with little interference and avoids micromanagement. You do, however, want to make sure that the range that you're assigning is pretty close to what they're wanting in terms of a time commitment. Of course, you know, like if you're giving someone the X and the Y range, they're not really going to have many bios to write, which is fine if it's someone who doesn't have a lot of time, but it can be very boring and deterring to someone who really wants to get involved. To help get bios for the cats that are on site, we have started a team of cat interviewers, which is probably one of our volunteers' most appealing positions. They basically get to go play with cats. They simply visit the cats at the different adoption centers, then submit the same online form that our fosters do so that our bio writers can get to work and craft their bios. These volunteers are specifically going there to do this. They're not also working on scooping litter boxes, or they're not staff who are also dealing with adopters. So they're able to spend a little bit more time specifically with the animal and get to know their personality a little bit better. And of course, you know, they're still in the shelter environment, so it's always going to be difficult to get the full idea of their personality. But at least you have a starting point for your biography to get the cat going. And again, with this one, we send out a list of cats that need interviewed and their locations about every week or so to help guide the team in their interviews. Photographers are always needed since photos are essential to getting cats adopted. You will ideally want photographers with DSLR cameras to get the best photos, but they don't have to be professional photographers. A lot of people that just really enjoy photography as a hobby have these fancy cameras and do amazing work with them. You will also want to make sure that you have their agreement to use the photos. You don't want to get into any sort of copyright infringement issues with that. We also request that they not put any watermarks on the photos because, again, when you're trying to get into making flyers, you may need to crop the photo or whatever, and that watermark could make it very difficult to do. Taking photos in a shelter environment can be very different than what people are used to. So it's good to kind of get them prepared for that. First, they'll want to keep track of who they are photographing because once they get home after they've taken pictures of 30 cats, they're not going to be able to remember who was who. So just bringing along a notebook and a pen to kind of keep track of these first photos were this cat, etc., will really help them. They also want to take lots of photos, since not all of the photos that look good on that tiny camera screen are really going to look good when they get them on the computer. And that's totally fine. One of our photographers says that he usually has about a 10% success rate. So he might take 100 photos, and out of those, he likes 10 of them. And with the DSLR cameras, it's not a big deal to take tons of photos. So we encourage that. With cats, it's really helpful to bring a partner to help with wrangling them. Can you imagine when you're trying to take a picture of a kitten and it just keeps running at you? you're not going to get that photo very well. So if you have someone else to be the playing with a string toy or I'm petting you and distracting you person, then you can sit back with the camera, make sure that it's steady, make sure you're not trying to rush yourself, and get those really good photos. And of course, your volunteer photographers will be essential for when you do the foster photo days, because of course, they're going to be your best source for getting good photos. If you can find people interested in being videographers, this is a huge plus. They can work on recording and editing adoption videos, or special videos, such as this one that was about the feline leukemia sanctuary.
Too often, it's an automatic death sentence. Cats with the feline leukemia virus are routinely euthanized in shelters nationwide. The virus is contagious among cats, but not to other animals or people. It weakens their immune system, making them more prone to catching other diseases. It significantly shortens their life. But in the years that they have, cats with feline leukemia can live a full and wonderful life. At Austin Pets Alive, these cats have a special place, a sanctuary of their own. Dozens of them have found homes with adopters who've learned the facts. With the right diet, care, and treatment, a feline leukemia cat can enjoy a rich quality of life. And knowing that in so many other places they'd have no chance at life, it's even more rewarding to offer a home to an FELV cat. At Austin Pets Alive, feline leukemia isn't the end, it's a beginning, another expression of our commitment to save them all.
You can give assignments based on the videographer's knowledge and equipment level. This video is actually pretty sophisticated, and this particular videographer had the equipment and the skills to be able to accomplish that. But of course, you won't want to send someone to do a more sophisticated video if they're just using their phone. And I also encourage our photographers and cat interviewers to film any cute cat antics that they might see, because they're already with the cats. And so they can also double as your videographers unofficially, or officially if they choose to. So essential for any of your successful campaigns are going to be graphic designers. They're responsible for creating the flyers and promotional material such as these. I really like our Groundhog Day one up at the top there. You'll want to recruit volunteers with Photoshop or similar experience and access to these programs, since they can be pretty expensive and complex to learn. CRAIGSLIST and rescue groups are very easy to use, so they require little prior knowledge or training, which makes it a really great area for volunteers to work on. Plus, they can do it from home, so that makes it really easy too. I found that it provides the best coverage for CRAIGSLIST, and it's really convenient to schedule volunteers on a consistent day of the week. So you have like your Monday person, and they're always responsible for posting on Monday. This also helps keep the volunteers from having too much to do, but it makes it easy to see when a volunteer goes inactive, which is inevitable. You will want to provide the volunteers with a way to know what cats to post, remove, or update. I happen to do this through an email list and keep track of everything through a Google Docs spreadsheet. Creating team accounts can also help in monitoring progress and make sure that inquiries are being responded to. This position is, again, super easy. We don't really have any formal training, we just have a document that kind of walks them through. I think most people already know how to post on CRAIGSLIST, so it's one of those that is pretty low maintenance from a managing standpoint. Recruiting volunteers can be challenging. You'll want to make sure that you have clear descriptions of different volunteer positions so people can pick what is best for them. You can recruit for these positions at volunteer orientations, through local student groups, or social media. The nice part about cat marketing is that many tasks can be done from home, so it fits more people's schedules, Plus, marketing is kind of that area where you can get people of all different skill sets involved. Because people work from home, there's also a down point. A lot of the volunteers can start to feel alienated or like they're not part of the team because they're just working at home. So planning team social events can really help with putting faces to names, making them feel more of the group, and they feel more of a connection, so they stay longer. Even with this, you should expect really high turnover just with any volunteer position. To accommodate for this, you will want to constantly recruit for key positions, such as photographers and bio writers. So just to go over what all we've discussed, you will want to make sure that details such as the cat's name and breed description are used to make the cat as appealing as possible. You also want to focus on gathering photos and biographies for the cats and work on filming interesting videos for difficult to adopt cats. There are key differences between gathering marketing material for cats that are on site and in foster, namely the ease with which you can acquire these materials and which materials are going to be the stronger points. We also touched on some of the main avenues you can use to promote your adoptable cats, such as Facebook, Instagram, CRAIGSLIST, rescue groups, and fosters themselves. Special campaigns can help provide extra attention to your cats, help get a little bit more of an adoption movement than your normal promoting methods. And of course, this is all a lot to do, so we went through some of the different team members that you might want in order to make it work.